we
All
looking?
right, so huh?
Are we looking at each other or at the camera?
I don't know, man. This is
Okay, we'll just
I haven't
figure it
done
out.
this. All right, we'll figure it out.
That camera. Tell them what you got going on.
That camera. All right, I'll start with a cheers to you, sir. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for hanging out.
Absolutely.
Man, so I've been wanting to do this for a while. Over the last 5 years, started this production company, BrightCap Entertainment. My name's Ashley Ephraim. I've been doing this for a while. This is my good friend, Michael Mims, and awesome creative. You've done so many things, and even the time that I've known you.
Just a few things.
It's just been a really cool experience. And so what I wanted to do is kind of reflect back on the work that I've done with creatives over the last 5 years, because I think it's important, especially in this day and age where there's just so many options for creativity. Sometimes it's overwhelming and people aren't sure what to do. So I wanted to create something that just spoke on at least what I've experienced and the people I've met along the way, you being one of them. And it's been such a cool just journey so far. So thanks for being my first kind of guest.
Yeah. I am honored and privileged. And honestly, this is a cool experience. It's a cool concept because, again, I think even in the age of AI and stuff, where you can't tell what's real sometimes, it's getting scary to be able to know that there's real people doing stuff still. That care about the craft and the process of filmmaking and creating stories. So honored to be a part of this and excited to dive in a little bit more.
Yeah, and I love, we don't necessarily have a format to this that is regimented, so this it's kind of fun because it's just conversation. I think a lot of times when it comes to these type of conversations, people gravitate towards the stuff that they see themselves in.
Right.
And so I'd love for you to just give us a 40,000 foot view of kind of your story on how you got to creative. And then we'll kind of go into, some of the stuff we've done together too. So.
Well, we will be looking for a sponsor eventually. So brands, hit us up.
Always.
Come on.
Oh man, dude, you're on it every time. You're on it.
Let's go. Well, 40,000 foot view. So I had always been creative, according to my mom. I won my first coloring contest at the age of 1.
That's awesome.
Literally won $100 from a Hallmark. That's what my mom said.
Yeah.
Growing up a little bit older in elementary school, very artistic, or gravitated towards art school, art class, and just knew that was something, a part of my journey in how I would express myself. I got to a point around high school where I discovered you can do creative things, and I actually wanted to become an architect. So I discovered that, backstory, in second grade, there was a project about what you would want to do when you grew up. And I wrote that I wanted to be the first architects to build a house on the moon.
Oh, wow.
So
dude,
that was very futuristic.
You're ahead of it for sure.
But that, the idea of being an architect kind of translated further down. And I went to college, University of Illinois, Chicago, for architecture school. So I spent 4 years undergrad learning design. And I think what I really liked about architecture in and of itself was highly creative, right? Beautiful buildings. But there's also this sense of people inhabit it, people live in it, people occupy it. And so it has to stand, it has to be structurally sound. So there's a balance between art and science became this part of my brain that I was activating on equal parts. And I thought that architecture was just a really fun avenue with, but I actually graduated in the middle of a recession and nobody was hiring architects.
Yeah.
So my career path changed a few times, did a few things that I didn't enjoy doing until I kind of discovered the internet and social media and decided to use some of the creative gifts of design that I've was able to kind of hone in and practice, picked up a camera, started learning photography, taught myself how to edit video on a small Nikon DSLR.
Wow. Shout out Nikon.
Yeah,
Sponsor?
shout out Nikon. Yeah. We'll shoot some birds. So just started to be self-taught in a lot of things, translated that to social media, learning. Again, I think there's an art and a science to social media, and then that actually soon became something that's called content creation. And so how do you create short form videos? How do you dive into long format stuff? And I've kind of overlapped into your world with video. So like lo and behold, I use part of my life to build brands and design. I still care about a lot of design stuff because it really is the face or the front door of someone's business or organization. So that's fun. And then I get to do stuff further down in the marketing pipeline, whether it be video content or social media graphics or whatnot. So all the while just telling story, just helping tell a story. So yeah.
Dude, that's so great. And I think what's cool is just even seeing you after knowing you for I think it's about like knowing you for about like 4 years. Knowing of you, it's been about 5. But like seeing this like process you go through when it comes to, there's a lot of parallels between, I'm sure, the mentality of an architect and design, because so much design goes into architecture as well. So even as you're like creating these brands and like you know, the design aspect for certain brands, like you did our logo, you know, like things like that. I love your approach towards it, because it's not just like throw something at the wall and see, you know, what sticks. There's a lot of methodology to your thinking.
Yeah.
So what's kind of, can you walk me through a little bit of your approach, like when you do that?
Yeah, I think the design process, again, across mediums is very similar. So I think that's why I was able to translate some of the things I learned in undergrad to what I do now.
Yeah.
I do like to say that I'm an architect of like community and experience through creative pursuits. But a lot of what I do honestly starts at the foundation, like you would with a building, right? Or a home. It's the foundation, and that's usually around research. I think it's always good to know what's come before you and where you want to start and establish the brand or whatever the project is, the design scope or the video production. I think it starts with research, right? So 1, that you're informed, 2, that you're inspired, because you don't always have to like reinvent something new.
Right.
There's a lot of amazing people out there doing amazing things, and you can learn from. And not to copy, but you want to just kind of see what you can, and what I like to call curate. Instead of copying, you're curating, you're pulling from this piece. So I like that. And this piece. And I spend a lot of time making mood boards. You'll know I spend a lot of time in mood boards. And it's just dropping in photos and images and things that I've seen out in the wild, photographs that I have in my camera roll, or Pinterest boards and whatnot. And I just kind of put it all together and try to make sense of it from there. And then it kind of just, from that big high level view, you try to start to get one level lower and lower and lower until you're starting to get more defined and more detailed towards the intended outcome.
Dude, that's so cool. Like, I just love that process. Because a lot of people, I think a lot of people aren't sure always where to start, you know, when it comes to like, how do I even explore my creativity?
Right.
You know, and it's like, you don't have to, you know, do the million things that you see online. I think, at least in my experience, it was like, it's a, you know, 5-ton elephant. You take one bite at a time.
Right.
And so you gravitate towards, I think for me, it was like the things that I was more passionate about, you know, to begin with. And then breaking down the process of it. So if I liked like camera work, right? Like, how do I start breaking down camera work from framing? What does that look like?
Right.
And then going from there to then moving on to sound, and what are kind of the cool things about sound, and lighting, what are the cool things about lighting. So I think in this world, the current climate is like fast. And I think what we end up losing a lot of the time is the reps that we need in order to become masters at the craft that we're gifted in, you know? So do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, my dad was a blue collar tradesman. I think we can learn a lot from trades. And honestly,
yeah,
like the idea of apprenticeship, even the idea of like, you're not going to be the master, whatever,
yep,
right away.
yep,
But if you're willing to kind of put in the work and do the reps daily, or as frequently as you're allowed and afforded to do as much as you can, and it helps if you're a self starter, right? You don't
right,
need someone to tell you what to do.
right,
I think that's the nature of being an entrepreneur. So if you're creative and you're an entrepreneur, that combination can sometimes be conflicting because I just want to create and be in this la la land. But to grow a business like you and I are trying to do, like you have to also know that your time is limited and you have only a certain amount of time to learn this or to get this done,
yep,
so that you can get out there and start making money or getting more clients or putting yourself out there in a sense. So I think, you know, as much as you can, try to learn what you're trying to do, try to shadow people, try to ask questions. I think you're one of the best people that I know that are out there asking other people, like, what was your process, or can I even come see what your production looks like,
right,
or how you can learn from a designer like me, like
mm-hmm.
you're always learning from different pieces. And I think, again, it's that idea of putting more arrows in your quiver,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. Like,
It's so good,
yeah,
yeah,
learning this,
yeah,
learning this. And you don't have to be a master at all of them, but to know them at least, or at least as far as you want to get in skill, will make you a more diverse and I think marketable creative.
mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think there's an aspect of just, yeah, knowing that if you want to get into this kind of work, like it's going to take hours,
Yeah,
sweat equity.
yeah,
There's no shortcutting as much as people want to sell
yeah,
courses and stuff online. There really is no shortcut to learning something from scratch, and it'll make you far more profitable in the end results.
when you think about that, like, you know, it's interesting going through this journey because there's so many different avenues that people can go with how they land in a similar spot, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but I'm curious, like, as far as your thoughts, like, on why does it feel like there's a sense of urgency, you know, for people to do something or become something? Like, have you thought about that?
That's like an existential question.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
really relies around or surrounds itself around the purpose, which we get to actually spend a lot of time talking about and even helping young adults and young creatives do, is really around the purpose of who we are at the core of who we are. But I think culture around us will scream this narrative that you're already far behind.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you're not a high school kid like your son with 100,000 followers or more. Like you're not anybody. And like that's such a horrible, toxic narrative. Right. And I think the longer that the older that I'm getting, I understand that a lot of the most successful entrepreneurs, a lot of the more successful creatives, agency heads, directors, like they didn't really make it until their 40s, 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
And I think, social media tells a different narrative. I think
speak on that, bro, because you're on there, like
I am, which is crazy.
You're in that space.
I'm in this space enough to know where like I've seen the rise of young people.
Yeah.
And like super talented, super gifted. And there's so many people talking at them, so many people grabbing for what they have now, which is usually their influence, which usually translate that they want their money.
Yep.
And so a lot of young people are just online and they get lost because they didn't know what they stood for to begin with.
Yeah.
And they happen to be talented in one area. They happen to be funny. They happen to be personable. And I love cheering on these next generation of creators or creatives. But when everyone's asking something of you, you spend less time knowing who you are because you're trying to be something for someone else.
Yeah.
And you start to wear these masks and all that stuff. So it gets dangerous. But again, I think there's a beauty if you're even in a place where you're not as seen or you're not as noticed or you're still working the assistant to the person who's in charge or And I think to try to be grateful in those moments, in those seasons, because it won't be that season forever, as long as you're continuing to work hard, as long as you're continuing to grow and learn.
Yeah. That's good, man. I mean, even in what I've gone through so far, I still like kind of struggle with this tension of like time, you know, and this battle with time, because you know, I hear, and I'm sure people out there hear the term like, you know, enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Like enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. And sometimes I'm just like, I feel like that's a bunch of crap, you know, like sometimes it's just so frustrating. But then I like when I actually take myself out of the pressure of it, I get to see, like, you know, again, like pull back the lens, to use a cinematography term, like pull back the lens as far as like see the people you've met along the way, like the relationships you're building and the work you've done. And I think this is therapeutic for me to do this, because I'm reflecting back on the work that I've done.
Yeah.
And as I even was preparing for this, it was like, dang, dude, like there's been a lot. There's been a lot.
And see the ways you've improved over the course of your work, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's so easy to like beat yourself up for the last project you did. But like if you look 7 projects ago and you compare it to that one, like you should see an improvement, right? We should all be growing and improving. And so sometimes it's just humbling to like look back at your first work. I remember seeing some of my early architecture stuff. I'm like, I don't even know if I could draw a straight line. Like that was horrible.
Yeah.
To see some of the first designs that I ever did on Photoshop was crazy. I actually have an album like on private and Facebook right now. Like, and I used to test stuff out I used to follow tutorials on Photoshop, and it was garbage.
Yeah.
But like to see myself now designing for brands and seeing it on shirts and seeing it on screens, like it's rewarding.
Yeah.
But I wasn't always there. I wasn't always there. And I think we should be kinder to ourselves in the process, and not in a place where I'm going to get comfortable and complacent, but we should celebrate where we've come from. And that should drive us to say, I know there's more in me.
Yeah.
And we can continue to do more hard things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great kind of segue into like just like this like taking a step of courage, you know, even though it's scary, to like just go. You know, I think a lot of times when people get frustrated because they're not challenging themselves enough. And I think stepping into that can be scary, but it's not that it shouldn't be scary, right? It should be scary. It's just the fact that you're actually taking the step.
Well, I think you need to share about your career journey, right?
Yeah.
You weren't, again, this business has been around for a little bit, but before that, what were you doing?
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, I tried to do as many jobs as I could. It feels like, you know, like there's a period of time where I was in banking and finance. I, you know, delivered pizzas. I worked for I worked for a few restaurants. And then I ended up in biomedical, which is crazy. You know, like just ended up working in biomedical as a technician and repairing devices and doing all this stuff. I started out as a cleaner in that, and then thought I had a career in that, and then life had other plans, and so it just took me. I tell people all the time, it's never a linear, like their trajectory might look like it's going upwards, but it should be like this, like, you know, stock market.
It's like the stock market for sure.
Right? Like I'm sure your journey was like that too, just knowing that you were in like the space of architecture, right? And then walk me through like kind of, because you ended up really in branding and social media and design. And so what was in between that?
Oh yeah, so when I graduated, middle of recession, I was competing in the job market with laid off seasoned architects. That wasn't going to happen. And I actually couldn't afford to take an unpaid internship. And that is a good thing for some people if they can find that time to put in sweat equity and learn. I couldn't at that moment, so I ended up in for-profit education as a financial aid counselor. So I helped students fill out a FAFSA.
That's crazy, dude.
And then the weekends I was working like a few hours, 12, 18 hours in the emergency room, doing patient intake there. So just trying to pay off student loans.
Yeah.
And feeling kind of miserable because they weren't creative jobs. But I felt like that moment was life defining in the sense that I almost gave up on everything. But I think God had his hand on that, and I was able to pull through that hard season and slowly just was my unpaid internship, started volunteering in different areas of creativity that I saw opportunities for, and that was a moment for me. It was like, if it wasn't being handed to me an opportunity, then I was going to find a way, or I was going to make one for myself.
Wow. Dude. And I feel like you all those things that you learn along the way, like you carry them to your next thing. You know what I'm saying? Like that persistence is still there, right? And you just continue to push and design.
Dude, it's still like, and I try to make the persistence part of it like a healthy part of my weekly rhythms.
Yeah.
I do something as kind of an entrepreneur, as a business person, where I call it Shoot My Shot Fridays.
That's cool.
And
I remember you talking to me.
It's just one day that I will send a DM to someone that I want to work with, or a brand I would like to collaborate with, or someone that I want to partner with, or, talk about, or send an idea to them that, for like paid work eventually. And so I just shoot my shot.
Yeah.
What's there to lose except for a no or a not now? And I can deal with that now. But you got to get those reps into rejection.
Yeah.
And some beautiful things have come from just saying, I have this idea for you. Want to talk about it? Or I'd like to talk about a content idea that I have for you. Would you like to talk through more of that? So I think that's just something fun to do. Sometimes you just got to take a risk and re-up on that risk.
Dude, it reminds me like, you are probably one of two people that I know that are unapologetic about like just going for it and just like hustling and getting, shooting your shot. The only person I know outside of that, like outside of you, is Clay Kerr. Our friend Clay. Shout out Clay. You guys are just like, there's an ambition there, but there's also like a genuine, like, I see a gap and I see a problem, and I think and I feel like I can fix that for you. So there's like a genuine like authenticity to you guys and your approach to it.
You always got to find, and I know this of you as well, is that it's not just what I can get or what I can receive and what I can take. How can you be mutually beneficial and try to create more partnerships than, just adding to your client roster.
Right.
And I think
that's huge.
That's been, I think, the fun part about our work and collaboration is how do we help each other? I've helped you with projects. You've helped me with projects.
Yeah.
We've collaborated together on projects for other people. And that probably wouldn't have happened if it was just all me, like how can I grow my thing and my brand and my business and vice versa. So I think it's like when you shoot your shot, like how do you provide value for someone else?
Yeah.
So they know that you're not just trying to ride their coattails or chase their clout, for a lack of a better term.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's an important focus, right? I think the times that I feel, and I used to hear this all the time, and then I kind of challenged myself to do it. Like the more you give, the more you end up receiving. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that doesn't look at all monetary. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Probably more times than not.
I think people feel like, like when they fail at it, it's because they didn't give money for it or more, It's not about that a lot of times. It's more about just understanding that you provided value to somebody else. And that's, at the end of the day, I think that drives us closer to purpose, you know, to what we're meant for, and being in community and being able to be in a society where we can help each other. Like, I think those things drive us towards that. But outside of that too, life has a very interesting way of, you know, and you and I we're not ashamed of our faith. You know, we know that there's a very real creator out there too, that just loves seeing our drive, our ambition. And I think that along with those things, when we're able to do things out of like selflessness and do things out of like wanting to joyfully like help and partner with people, whether it's monetary or somewhere down the line, I feel like God honors that. And he's just like, all right, you know, like, here's another opportunity. Let's see what you do with it. And sometimes we get challenged more, you know? And I think staying like grounded during those times is like huge, because I know that there's been times that I've talked to you and I'm just like, dude, I just don't get it. Like a slow, like pot roast cooking, you know? Like,
oh, what do we say?
Yeah, we say brisket, not burgers, right?
Brisket, not burgers.
Right. Yeah. And shout out to our friend Carrington Gaines too.
Well, bro.
So yeah, we'll talk about Carrington a little later too. But yeah, so I'd love to just get into some of the work that we've done.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be really cool just to, you know, just show people some of the things we've collabed on together and break them down, talk about process, and talk about how the process has really like evolved through the years, you know, with this specific.
Yeah. And I have to say, man, every year you level up and get better. And I have to be a little bit biased that like this is some of your best work of your career that we're going to see today. So yeah, I'm excited to dive in.